More on elasticity. Elasticity isn't finite, it changes over time. So here on page 61, if you look at this curve, as prices change, elasticity could rise and then fall again. So for instance, what's a good example of that? Notice the price of gasoline. When it was at $1 or $1.50 or up to $2, people were reluctant to shift their buying habits. But once it got to $3 or $3.50 a gallon, people started to conserve more. So elasticity changes over a range of prices. Again, we look at our quotients. If something is greater than 1, it's elastic. If it's less than 1, it's inelastic, which means it is not sensitive to price changes. To continue along that line of thought, again on page 65, you'll find there's 3 ways to look at elasticity. We could look at there's other ways to look at elasticity. We could look at income elasticity, which is the change in quantity as our incomes change. So some products are more sensitive to income than others, and that's another thing for a manager to be aware of. If you're selling hamburger or you're working at McDonald's, you may be more sensitive to decrease in incomes. But then again, if you're selling a luxury product, your quantity may go down as income increases. How do you measure that? You measure it with income elasticity. There's also cross-price elasticity, where we measure the quantity change in our product versus the price of another product. So for instance, when the price of Coca-Cola goes up, the quantity demanded of Pepsi goes up. And when the price of Coca-Cola goes down, the quantity demanded of Pepsi goes down. So that means there's substitute goods. In the case of income elasticity, they move in opposite directions. So if it is greater than 0, it's a normal good. If it's less than 0, it's a necessity. And if it's greater than 1, it would be a luxury good, which means the demand will go up if incomes go up, and will go down if incomes go down. And over here, you also get a little cheat sheet on how that works. So I definitely urge you to look at these 3 important functions, which is income, cross price, and then regular elasticity, which we look at whether goods are substitute goods or complementary goods. So let's go back to that again. If the price of Coke goes up, the demand for Pepsi goes down. And if the price of Coke goes if the price of Coke goes up, the demand for Pepsi goes up. If the price of Coke goes down, the demand for Pepsi goes down. They move in the same direction, so therefore it's greater than 0. It's a substitute. But if I have 2 goods that move in opposite directions, like hamburger rolls and hamburgers, the price of hamburger meat goes up, the demand for hamburger rolls goes down, and the price of hamburger meat goes down, the demand for hamburger rolls goes up. If these 2 products are linked together closely and they move in opposite directions, then they're complementary goods. Hot dogs and hot dog buns, peanut butter and jelly, lift tickets and skis. These things move in opposite directions when we look at price versus demand for the other. So I want you to spend some more time with this, because this really is an important chapter. And again, on page 67, they talk about different elasticities and look at something that's relatively inexpensive, like cabbage, potatoes, eggs, very inelastic, not sensitive to price change. But then when you get to things that are more cheese and fish, where you still got pretty low fish, you can notice elasticity is a little higher. But when you get to lettuce and fresh peas and fresh produce, elasticity starts to change even more, because people will be reluctant to pay for the fresh produce if the price goes up too quickly. So this is the kind of thing I want you to pay attention to, spend some time with, and we'll be adding more on. At the rest of the chapter, they talk about different elasticities for different industries. For instance, like healthcare, which is a necessity, tuition elasticity in higher education, which we're starting to see changes in that. So spend some time with this, and we will be talking again.